Listen up, p***y. Do you want to watch every piece of media known to man to the detriment of your mental health? Do you want to buy paper towels, a fursuit, and the skull of a rat all with one click? Do you want to see naked lady boobs at any time, at the wave of a hand, at the drop of a hat? Well, might I introduce to you the internet? It all starts here and ends here, baby. It's all going to shit. The internet is pretty much the closest thing we have to God in the 21st century. We go to it for information, we use it to align our moral compasses, we go to meet people and create communities. I mean, I don't really have to explain the internet to you. Obviously, you know how to use it, which is good because it's almost impossible to explain the internet. But it's been around for 40 years, and in that time, it's become an essential part of modern life, like running water or little treats. But since its primary concern is innovation and progress, we take for granted that the internet's roots stem for over half a century. All of this used to look way different. It wasn't a place for clean-looking message boards and intuitive AI. It used to be a mess. Like, you used to have to type in the www dot before going to a web page. Can you imagine the time that would take? So in terms of both history and understanding, I thought it would be important to look back on the internet's shaky past. Today we're gonna peel back the layers of the internet and find the original wallpaper the house started with, and maybe we can all learn a little something along the way. Come on, kids, let's go explore the old internet. Yeah! Wait, did you guys tell your parents about this? Do they even know where you are? Oh my god, this is not good. I'm not even sure there's an exit to this place. The year, 1997. A man named Robert Metcalf stands on the stage at the World Wide Web conference with a blender. For some reason. Robert was known throughout the industry as being the dude who made Ethernet possible. You know, Ethernet, that thing that makes you not glitch out whenever you're trying to clutch up of overtime in Rocket League. But if he's such a genius, then why is he standing on a stage with a blender? Well, 2 years prior, in 1995, Robert wrote an article saying that the internet would collapse by 1996, and if it didn't, he would eat his word. And although Bobby was a dork, he wasn't a pussy, so he put that article in a blender, put some water in there, and then ate it with a spoon, which is pretty baller. The internet surprised everyone, even the people who were involved with developing it. Much like the caveman who harnessed fire, the scientists who made the internet probably just wanted to have fun with it and maybe be mean to their friends while using it. So in order to understand the humble origins of the system that now runs everyone's lives, literally, we have to jump all the way back to the Cold War. So forget 1997, we're going back to 1957. Ignore that, I shouldn't even talk about that. In 1957, the USSR launched Sputnik into space, which was the first satellite ever to go into space. This created a mild fear throughout the West that Russia's technology was greatly outpacing America's, and it kind of was. They just launched a smart toaster into space, and we weren't even close to that. This kicked off an extreme escalation in the Cold War, which led to an arms race, the moon landing, and the launch pad for what would become the internet. And that wasn't a pun. I know we're talking about space. I just can't think of a better name. The foundation. The foundation. The current sitting president at the time, Dwight D. Eisenhower, created the Advanced Research Projects Agency, or ARPA. ARPA originally was made to develop military technologies because we were not doing great about that. But while they were making bombs and stuff, they also thought it was important to make a network of 200 computers from all different locations that were able to communicate with each other. The working title for this system was the Intergalactic Computer Network, which I am so pissed we call this shit the internet now because that is a way tougher name. And although we take the concept of computers talking with each other for granted nowadays, it was unheard of in the 60s. Computers weren't things that, like, you watch porn on. They were just pretty much massive calculators. That's all they were doing back then. That would be like me telling you, hey, by the way, now your microwave can call your friend's microwave, and you'd be like, okay, why would they want to do that? For what purpose? Is it going to use my data? What data plan does it have? By the late 1960s, and against all odds, ARPA had finally created the first computer network, which made future pirates rejoice in unison. And on October 29th, 1969, ARPANET sent its first computer message. A house-sized computer at UCLA sent the message login to the house-sized computer at Stanford. This unbelievably massive message with way too many letters immediately crashed the system. It was not ready for LOGIN, 5 letters. And because it crashed, Stanford only got L and O out of the message. It didn't even get the full thing over there. And then they tried again, and it worked, and then they got the message login. But technically, the first letters ever sent over on the internet were LOL, which I think is, silly and fun. Is that not interesting? Although this might seem like a disastrous first spin, it was viewed as a massive success by ARPANET. Before ARPANET, if you wanted to see what a computer was doing, you'd have to, like, walk over and look at it. Ew, what the fuck? So the technology was continually being developed throughout the 70s, and in the early 80s, a model that standardized how data was transferred was created. ARPANET officially went to this standard model in ARPANET adopted this model in January 1st, 1983. And the very first iteration of the public internet was born, okay? I'm glad we got here, Jesus Christ. It's just crazy that we had to go to war to have internet and space travel. If we want flying cars, we're probably gonna have to throw some bombs at China. I feel like that's the only way to get it done. In the early 90s, a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web, WWW. Known today as Web 1.0, this was the earliest form of the internet that we are, familiar with. During this time, web pages were mostly static. They were just pictures of pages. You couldn't do anything with them. Interactive features or user-generated content did not exist at this stage in the internet. In its essence, it was like you were accessing a page of a book by typing in an address, which is chill. You could still see things like dinosaurs and boobs, but it was pretty much it. And most pages were made by big businesses as pretty much brochures, but that doesn't mean the average person wasn't getting in on the fun. Instead of social media platforms or blogging sites, people built personal websites that were hosted for free by companies like GeoCities. And much like the early years of FPS shooters, these sites were primitive and extraordinarily ugly. They were usually filled with GIFs and different flashing colored text, and even though this was the groundwork of what the internet would become, the toxic behavior was still prevalent. You can't take the hate out of humanity. But early internet toxicity was hard to do because you couldn't leave comments on anyone's pages, so how are you gonna let them know you hate them? Well, instead of a comment section, old websites used to have things called guest books, where everyone could post little anonymous things in the bottom of their pages. These were supposed to emulate like a wedding guest book, like before you leave a wedding, you leave a cute little note about like, I enjoyed the fish or whatever. And you were supposed to do that with websites, but instead someone would just tell someone else to go kill all the time. And then they just sign off and play some sweet, sweet Joe Montana football with the boys. Helping propel the Web 1.0 era was search engines like Yahoo searches and Alta Vista, whatever the fuck that is. Nowhere near as efficient or helpful as modern day Google. These old search engines would just catalog web pages so they were easier to find for someone who, was just looking around. And this process semi-enabled people for the first time to surf the web. But now that people could army crawl through sites, they were now allowed to fall down the internet rabbit hole, thus leading to the birth of the bold, the beautiful, Web 2.0 is what we would define as the modern internet. There wasn't like an actual shift in structure of the World Wide Web, just a massive change in the way we interact with it. While Web 1.0 allowed you to view sites, Web 2.0 allows you to interact with it and create user-generated content. You know, what I'm doing right now, for money. Social media, blogs, wikis, video sharing, all the apps, all hallmarks of Web 2.0. In essence, the collective mindset of what we wanted from the internet spurred the switch into the next generation. No one says they're gonna go log on to Facebook.com. Well, some people do, old people, but old people are attracted to Facebook like cats are attracted to shitting on my carpet. But also, it's weird to think of Facebook in general as a website. Today, the biggest websites out there are not viewed as websites at all. They're more viewed as platforms. These tend to be ecosystems of their own, where you can make content, promote yourself, watch other people's content, and promote them. But the irony of Web 2.0 is in its decentralized ethos. While Web 1.0 offered less power because the website owners were also the creators themselves, Web 2.0 sought to give the autonomy over to the users. But the nature of where everything ended up was that Web 1.0 was just kind of bought out by websites like Amazon, Google, all those big ones, and they all just ended up sucking the internet dry with their overabundance of power. Yeah, these websites offer unique and free services, all of them, but they leverage this power over users to sell ads or to monopolize an entire service on the internet. This is known as aggregation theory, where companies control the consumer rather than the supplier of goods. Whew, that's fucking scary. And once you've gotten all your aggregated consumers into one place, then you can corner several aspects of the market. I mean, remember when Amazon used to just sell books? They just kept cornering markets and now they sell everything. Amazon is now responsible for over 20% of all internet purchases. And Google owns like everything on the internet, pretty much everything. So it begs the question, what happens next? I don't know. Some people talk about Web 3.0, but that's more of an NFT jerk-off dream than anything. But I think when you look too far forward, you end up missing all the things you've already driven past. Was that a good analogy? The new internet is cool, but the old internet is a beautiful landscape of horrendous graphic design, terrible UI, and just nostalgic lessons that everyone should learn from. So let's go back to the past that I was at the beginning of this video. Fuck, did I fuck this up? So let's jump to the old internet and see if we can't all learn a little something again. Come on, kids, let's go! What? No, you can't call your mom. I'm genuinely really in deep at this point, so the less they know, the better. Whoa! Welcome to the old internet, kids. Can you smell the mold? This place is pretty beat to shit. A lot of leaks, a lot of poor upkeep. Oh, but do you hear that? That's the sound of my old friend, Jesus Christ. Shut up. Oh, I'm sorry. Good lord, that was so fucking loud. America Online, also known as AOL, began in the late 80s, and by the mid-90s, it was synonymous with the internet. But it wasn't exactly the same. It was like internet light, diet internet. It was a closed computer network with message boards, chat rooms, and email. It was like its own ecosystem. Think one part internet, one part social media, one part Reddit. It's like a Frankenstein's basement dweller. This was also a paid subscription service, which turned out to be way ahead of its time. But the challenge of selling an internet service in this period of of history was, of course, the fact that no one knew what the fuck you were talking about. What the fuck is this thing? Once again, imagine trying to explain the internet to someone who's never had that before. They'd think you're an annoying wizard. So AOL decided the best way to market themselves was just to show the whole world what they were. And they did that. They did that a lot. They did it too much, I would say. From 1993 to 2006, AOL went on one of the most aggressive marketing campaigns known to humankind. They gave away an estimated 1 billion free trial discs. You couldn't walk 10 feet in America without stubbing one of your pinky toes on these fuckers. They were in cereal boxes. They were mailed directly to your house, slipped them inside of magazines and newspapers, given away on flights, left at the counter at Best Buy and Barnes & Noble. At one point, this is a wild stat, 50% of every CD being made in the world was going to AOL. They were taking all of them. This campaign was, unsurprisingly, wildly successful. AOL went from 200,000 subscribers to 25 million subscribers, which is, I don't know math, but that's at least 100% increase. There are a lot of reasons for why AOL appealed to a larger market. And one of the biggest draws for the appeal was the chat rooms. There was a lot of chat rooms going on and people fucked with that heavy. This is honestly AOL's real legacy at this point. There were chat rooms for literally everything, from sports and music to fringe subcultures like pottery and wearing a giant rodent head for self-defense. People would identify themselves in these chat rooms by stating their age, sex, and location. If you're an elder millennial like me, just hearing the term ASL gives you a shudder down your spine and some deep fear in your heart. The reality of these rooms were obviously that a lot of older people were pretending to be teens while talking to other teens. AOL was genuinely the birth of online stranger danger. But nonetheless, AOL was a perfect touchstone for Americans' ability to understand the promise of the internet's connectivity. It even spawned that corny-ass movie, You Got Mail, with Tom Hanks and that pretty lady. Peak romantic comedy, peak product placement, peak Tom Hanks, God bless the internet. But what about those people who enjoyed AOL, but thought to themselves, I'm really important and people should know what I'm thinking at all times every day? Well, take my hand and come with me. Come on, gang. Let's go. Come on. We're almost there. Can you see it? Whew. Oh, God. We're missing some kids. The next evolutionary step for the internet came in the late 90s with the invention of blogging. Whereas people before made janky GeoCity websites to share their thoughts and feelings on their own personal web pages, they now had sites like Zanga, LiveJournal, WordPress, and Blogger to express themselves. This is where a lot of teens learned rudimentary HTML, because if you could change the color of the scroll bar on your blog, you would pretty much be a wizard at that point in history. By the early 2000s, blogging had really taken off. What once was a haven for angsty teens and bored moms was then infused with serious journalistic writing. 2005 was the first year that a blogger had actual press credentials at the White House, and all this attention meant that bigger companies saw the earning potential in blogs. Google created the technology to monetize blogs in 2002, and just outright bought Blogger in 2003. In 2010, 11% of all bloggers said that their primary source of income was writing blogs, and this movement created websites like the Huffington Post, Gawker, and BuzzFeed. Which is, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that was supposed to happen. And eventually, sites like Twitter and Tumblr would create a new kind of blogging called microblogging, where you just throw up little ideas that you have. They wouldn't let you write a whole book, but you could do a little thing. And just let people poop out little genius ideas throughout the day. I do that all the time, and no one follows me on Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter. I'm very funny. Today, sites like Mashable, Medium, and Substack allow a place for people to continue writing professionally. Over 6 million blogs are currently online, and 2 billion blog posts are being published annually. And although blogging may seem out of date today, 43% of websites are still using the content management tools from the website WordPress. So the 90s are never gonna die. We got bones in this bitch. Oh, but what's this? You want a little bit more spunk and pizzazz sprayed all over your personal webpage? Need a little bit more personalized innovation? What's that on the horizon? Come on, gang. Let's go. Isn't it beautiful? What am I fucking doing? What is this bit? When MySpace launched in 2003, it revolutionized social media. Before MySpace, sites like Friendster, 6 Degrees, and LiveJournal wove social media into their sites. But MySpace took it a step further with customizable profiles that allowed users to friend one another, share music and videos, write blog posts, DM, and create communities around shared interests. At its peak, MySpace had 250 million users, even outranking Google as the #1 most visited website. And when you signed up for MySpace, you'd automatically have one friend, Tom. Tom is cool. You want Tom to be your friend. Thomas Anderson was a former hacker and musician before co-founding the website of MySpace. And his profile picture of him looking like a nerd in front of a whiteboard became an iconic poster of early Web 2.0. If you don't immediately recognize what this picture stands for, then you're probably a tiny little piss baby that was born after the year 2000 and we can't be friends. I'm sorry, we can't hang out. MySpace also became an important tool for musicians. It became a very legitimate free way to market your music. Adele got her first record deal after playing some demos on her MySpace page. Oh, forget the music thing. I forgot. The hands down best part about MySpace was the top 8. horrendously evil and perfect at the same time. This was a feature on MySpace that allowed you to post your 8 best friends in any order you wished and then link their profiles so you could go visit them, which is an objectively insane thing to do to teenager self-esteem. And you could actively change the listing. Like if someone was kind of being a dick to you in school, you could put them down at number 3. Sarah's number 1 now, bitch. Ordinary people became drunk with power. But sadly, the website eventually died out over time, and the death of MySpace is the definition of not a bang but a whimper. Over years of mismanagement and several sales of the business itself, Facebook eventually took the throne of the king of social media, and then MySpace tried to bill itself as like this site for music discovery, like a new SoundCloud. I mean, for a while, MySpace had the largest digital music library in the world, but then in 2019, the site changed servers and they lost 53 million songs from 14 million artists, so they've just been fucking up for a while. And with the updated design, MySpace remains operational, but it's lost all nostalgic purposes. It truly is a wasteland, a cautionary tale about documenting every step of your life on social media before it became a real problem. But speaking of wastelands full of horrendous content, I see another beautiful website on the horizon. I'm not gonna do that run thing though. Can we bring it to me? Thank you. I don't know why I was doing that. That's kind of embarrassing. Before Reddit and 4chan, there were sites like eBaum's Worlds, Newgrounds, and Funny Junk. These were less extreme versions of shock sites like Rotten.com or LiveLeak. These sites focus more on gaming culture, comedy, and just being chronically online altogether. But they still trafficked in the odd, absurd, and often pornographic, and a lot of hentai. There was a lot of hentai on these sites. But for all of their faults, mainly just stealing content from other websites, they were instrumental in forming what we know today as meme culture. They created this kind of meme, which is antiquated as fuck nowadays, but they really solidified the top text, bottom text format. They made these dudes, which are cringe as fuck nowadays, but are pretty much just precursors to these guys, which we're using now. They popularized iconic timeless memes like this thing and the Numa Numa guy. And they created homes for a lot of creators that went on to do great stuff in the entertainment industry. Cough, cough, go watch this video. And ripples of all of these movements can still be seen today in the meme pages of Facebook and Instagram. I mean, first of all, they will just steal content from other people without a second thought. That's just kind of part of meme culture. But making slate iterations of memes upon memes all began back when eBaum's World was still a thing. These sites were so important that the Library of Congress decided to start archiving their pages, so now that historically we'll have records of the gooning meme, which is crazy to me because that means Biden might have been briefed on gooning, which is so funny. Alright, now that we've covered some big hitters, I realized in my travels that I passed by some sites that aren't as important, but are perfect representatives of what the early internet was all about. And what makes them so special is that, against all odds, they are still being run today. These sites are still up 20 years later for some goddamn reason. So let's take a look at some websites from the past and realize just how bad graphic design used to be. Up first, we have the Space Jam website. When Space Jam first came out in 1996, it was one of the first animated films to use digital technology. Ooh, but Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan hooping it up in space wasn't the only thing that made this film ahead of its time. A small team of designers built a website as a promotional tool for the film. Since the internet was still a novelty, the Warner Brothers didn't really give a shit what they were doing, so they were trying a bunch of stuff. And looking back, that was painfully obvious, good God. The Space Jam website is a fascinating look at the earliest attempt to utilize everything the internet had to offer. There are Easter eggs hidden all over the site, primitive content you can download, I wouldn't, but you can, and you can play games. How fun is that? The Space Jam website is like the future's vision of what websites would become, and they were missing the mark by a mile, but it's still up for some reason. Why is it still up? No one knows, actually. A Reddit account noticed it was still up in 2010, and that created almost a meme culture around the site itself. And someone made a Twitter account in 2013 that every 6 hours would check if the website was still up, and it constantly said yes. And then that Twitter account was shut down in 2022, getting outlived by the Space Jam website itself. What the fuck is going on? Let's move a little bit down the line and take a gander at one of the weirdest things that's still around on the internet, which is the 1996 Bob Dole campaign page. When Bob Dole ran for president in 1996, he was the oldest one to try that at the time. He was 73 years old. Goddamn, take me back. And him being over 70 years old is crazier because he was the first president to ever try doing a website for his campaign. So like, you know, the old guy still got it. At the end of his first debate against Clinton, he dropped the URL for his website. He did forget to put the dot before org, but you know, he's a 73-year-old man in 1996 talking about websites, so I'm just glad he got any of the words out. And the site was pretty revolutionary for its time. Visitors could create their own buttons and posters by printing shit out. You can take quizzes, you could play the crossword puzzle, and you can even send customized electronic postcards and email. How quaint, how cute. But we know the reason why this site is still up. It's being archived by the Presidential Campaign Archive, which would be a really cool moment in history if not not for the fact that in 1998, Bob Dole became the spokesperson for Viagra. So now everyone just thinks of boner pills when they see this guy. And now let's go to a darker place of the old internet where it gets really cold and scary. And if you guys don't know what this is, I feel really bad for you because we're about to get real sad real quick. Welcome to the Heaven's Gate webpage. It is, it's fucking crazy. If you aren't aware, meaning you're a mentally healthy adult, Heaven's Gate was a UFO cult that believed that Earth was run by a bunch of space aliens. Okay? And by rejecting your human form, you could transform into an immortal extraterrestrial being. Okay, is everyone still with me? I don't know. Could be true. Who knows? I don't know. Heaven's Gate was most likely the internet's first cult. And sorry, Kanye Quest 3030, you're impressive, but you're nowhere near the first. Now, this website is a cool relic because it's still up, but it's not to say that this cult just only existed on the internet. They just used the technology to financially sustain themselves while also using it as a recruitment tool. And they did use it as a recruitment tool. This is about to become a huge bummer. Buckle up. Heaven's Gate started as a company called Higher Source, which offered web design services to local businesses, while members also created the official Heaven's Gate website. So everything's chill, everything's cool. It's just a space cult with an affinity for making websites. What could go wrong? Well, the real life cult members who were walking around were all castrated. Hard left turn there. And then on one fateful day, they all systematically decided to go the Hemingway. I can't say anything more than that. I'll get demonetized, but you know, they're not around anymore. Poisoned themselves and wrapped themselves in garbage bags while they sat in bunk beds, all due to a website. Holy shit. They thought that if they did it in time, their souls would be able to attach to a comet that was flying nearby and their souls could live on it for eternity. I don't know. It wasn't right. That's all I know. They also all dressed up in a uniform before they did the big final act, and part of the uniform was these shoes, the Nike Decades, and they stopped making them because of this horrible tragedy, but holy shit, these shoes are so cool. I wish I could get them. And then they're like fucking $6,000 to get a pair now. Anyway, after the 1997 massive chop suey of the Heaven's Gate cult, 2 of the members that were still alive decided to stick around and keep the website up. And it's still being maintained to this day, and you can still access it. I don't know why. People have emailed the website's admins asking why the fuck this is still going around, and their answers have been vague, but you're talking to a UFO death cult, so I wouldn't expect anything more than that. But maybe the creepiest part of this entire website is the press release they posted right before everyone went kaput. It says, and I quote, "By the time you read this, we suspect that the human bodies we were wearing have been found." Oh my god. And honestly, there's a couple other messed up websites at this era in history, like Cannibal Cafe and watchacorpse.com. This was really not a cool time. I mean, it was the Wild West, but things were going pretty dark pretty quick. Sometimes you need laws, I think. Sometimes you need laws. I don't know how to get out of here. Oh shit, I have kids with me. Oh fuck, I haven't seen them in a while. I hope I left them with Space Jam and not Bob Dole. Oh my god. New videos every Saturday. Fuck. Like, comment, and subscribe. I don't know, I'm fucked.